Hello, Loveland. I'm Mike Meldon, and this is your Loveland Weekly Podcast, brought to you by Gina Dubell-Smith, eXp Realty, and Stone Pillars Farm. We are now in the middle of election season here in Loveland, and over the next couple weeks, you're going to hear interviews with different candidates that are running for city council. And sprinkled in here and there, I thought we'd have other conversations about running for council and the things that go along with it. Well, today is one of those interesting episodes because the first half of this episode will be a conversation I had with my friend and political commentator Ryan Kulik. We will discuss some of the staples that make up our local elections and whether or not they are needed. And we will also discuss what it will take to get people's attention and votes this time around. Like I said, half the conversation will be included today, and the rest will be included in the next episode. The other half of this episode will be my conversation with my friend and city council candidate, Jim Daumeyer. Jim and I discuss why he decided to run for a seat and what he wants to do if he gets elected to city council. I do want to mention that this series of podcasts was started a couple episodes ago, and one of those episodes was with our city manager, Dave Kennedy. In that episode, Dave explains how our city government works and the role of council here in Loveland. So if you missed that one, make sure you check it out when you can. But today, let's focus on this episode. So sit back and enjoy today's double feature. Today is Monday, September 22nd, 2025. And I'm back real quick. Before we get started, I do want to say that I'm switching things up from my introduction. I am going to put Jim's interview first because it's a little bit sweeter and to the point, and I want to give him the opportunity to get his message out there. And then I hope you stay tuned for my conversation with Mr. Kulik.
So my name's Jim Daumeyer, running for Loveland City Council. I have been a resident for over 20 years. I live in Pheasant Hills. My kids are K through 12 at Loveland. We enjoyed the Loveland schools, the process.
You grew up locally too.
I did. I grew up in Montgomery.
Gotcha.
Grew up in Montgomery, graduated high school from Sycamore.
Gotcha.
We moved away for a little bit. We moved back. We were in Pleasant Ridge. We had our first, and then we were looking around for good schools. Mm-hmm. And Loveland hit that spot, and it hit it better than we ever thought it would. We got here and just started, and we're like, this is amazing. I enjoyed the whole part of the Loveland school system and everything like that. And
it's amazing how many people that a lot of these podcasts I start out with, hey, tell me about you and your history. That is just it. I mean, it is amazing what a good school can do and the good people that it brings.
Yes.
It is truly, because it is such a common theme to anybody that listens to this podcast. Where are you from? And we were looking for schools. We were looking for a good place to go. And you can't get better than, we have 5 stars, but but it shows even back then, it was always a good place to
Right.
go.
Yeah, exactly. And so you look at the school system and the way they worked it, and I knew what was going on when we were here and how you started in a school and you progressed along with your classmates. Mm-hmm. Like some schools, you they have 4 or 5 schools that converge at high school or earlier or whatever. And this, the way Loveland's set up, and I know there's a name for it. I heard it the other day.
As a teacher, I don't even know.
Okay, that's right.
I've never heard it. Yeah.
But
that's a good a good thing to look at. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I didn't either. And then, but I was looking around. I realized what was how they did that. And I was like, that's great, because you hear about other school systems. There's conflict once high school gets there, because you come from you have your team at the other school or whatever, and that's not how Loveland was. It was so. So I really enjoyed that. Yeah,
that's really cool that you looked at that.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people have, because that was. For me, and I don't know, Sycamore was when you all come together?
Correct.
Yeah, and
Correct.
Oak Hills was too.
Yeah.
And it was a lot, like you said. There's some good parts, because there's some people that, some of my best friends I met because of that coming together and maybe fell off, but there's also conflict, like you said. So I think that's really cool that you looked at that as one of your criteria.
Yeah. So so that was great. So I just kind of Yeah. So we went to, they did a great job. They graduated. Cindy and I, my wife, were very involved with, always volunteering for different things at the school. Cindy and I both helped out with robotics. We helped out in cross country. We helped out at show choir. Just anything, when we could volunteer and do the things, that's what we did, because it was, about our kids. And
you guys are involved with local organizations, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, we are.
You guys are doers.
We are, yes, we are doers.
You're not talkers.
Right.
I mean, you're talkers, of course, but you put action where it needs to be, which running a nonprofit, and you're part of that nonprofit.
Yes.
We see a lot of people that are talkers, and a lot of people that just say I want to do this, but I don't have the time. But then there are people that make time.
Right.
And you make time.
Yes.
And Cindy makes time.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's what, and to get involved with things that we care about is almost, it's like, it's not really work. It's just something else that we're going to do, and we feel like we're making a difference, with the nonprofit for Love Our Land, and helping our kids in school and all the kids. And so I think that's, that's kind of probably, my jump off point to where I'm at.
Let me just talk about we met because of trails, and I do want to tell people. I interviewed Jim before on all his work on the trails. He's got more trails to go, and just like I said, when you talk about somebody that just puts it out there, does the action, he goes out and does physical labor often, creating these trails in Loveland. But not only that, and this is because I don't even know if you'd get to this and why you're running, but you go to meetings that you can't even talk in. You'll go to the tree and environment meeting just to keep up with everything that's going on, because it does affect you and what you're doing for free with your time in creating these trails like the Dyson Trail and working on the Simpson Trail. And then you also go to the Park and Recs meeting. Can you talk about that before we get into actually you running? You go to a lot of those.
Yes, yeah, I do. I go to the tree environment meetings, and I go to the Parks and Rec meetings. I'm reporting usually what I've been, where my progress is on a trail. Talk about those things, and to find out what's going on in the Parks and Rec. I sit for the whole meeting and just listen to all the changes that are going on.
You're probably the only, because as a guy that ran that. I was in both committees. There's nobody there. People that may be listening may think, oh, there might be people there. There's not. Is it just you? Pretty much every.
Pretty much, yes. It is.
every now and again, somebody will show up.
It is pretty much me. Yes. Yeah.
That's great, and it shows again the time you are putting forward. So let's talk now. What made it time for you to say, now I want to be a part of City Council?
It started from the trails. And it was just a small aspect. I'm looking at a lot of maps, when you're working out there, and I'm looking at a lot of maps of Loveland, and I just realized how close we are, but you don't realize it, because you're driving or whatever, and we're really kind of connected a lot closer geographically than we could be. And I was looking at sidewalks. It's like, I would like to be able to get to the down historic better, just if we could, work on. I look at these other communities around, when I talk about neighborhoods, we look at the other neighborhoods. I'm like, oh, they could get here too. Oh, but the sidewalk ends, right before we get there, or they don't have sidewalks at all. And I was just looking at that, and I was like, that could be helpful, just on traffic and parking, but also just as an activity, it's like,
bringing community together, like you said.
Exactly.
I love going through the neighborhoods where you see people walking their dog and taking their baby around, or taking a jog.
Yeah.
And that really changes things if you don't have that.
Yes. Yeah. So it started off with something small like that. Like, well, I can build trails, but I can't pour concrete. I can't make sidewalks. And I think that would help make a difference. And then as you started, to take that on, you start to think about what other thing, because I'm like, well, to do that, I feel like I need to get on City Council. And then I was like, well, what else would you do? If you could sit on City Council, what are the changes that I would bring?
Yeah, let me
to
hear
that.
Good. Because it does. Yeah. As you get involved with, and some of you listening, I tried to. people that are involved and people that are starting to pay attention to city politics. It's not a huge population of us, but it is something that when you do start to listen, you fall in. It's like a dominoes, I didn't know this issue and I didn't know that issue, and you kind of fall in. So I think that's where you're going with it. You kind of just were like, all right, I want to hear about the sidewalks, and then boom.
Yes.
Right.
And so you start with sidewalks, and then you start to look around at other things, and you're like, well, what other things would I do differently or change here? And some of that is just communication. Just from the residents to city council, from city council back.
What can you see as a possible solution?
So the most efficient way right now is we're talking like technology driven, with just like a website and or using technology better. Whether or not it's working on our Instagram posts out to everyone, or encouraging people to hook in like that. Like when you and I grew up, there was TV stations. We would go and watch TV, or we'd get the local what's going on in your neighborhood paper.
Sure.
Those things are gone now.
Delvon Press, all gone.
And I know that we are currently trying to get people to join up on just like traffic stuff, but I feel like we should, maybe just do a little synopsis of what happened at the meeting on Tuesday, and just kind of boil that down. It's just a 3-minute thing. If you're going to do that on Instagram, or if it goes out on, Facebook or YouTube or just something like that, where it's like you don't need to watch the whole meeting, but it's like, here are the things that happen.
Yes.
And it's just, it's like I watch a lot of casual viewing stuff, and it's like if this was on my channel, it would be one of the things I could catch up, on a weekly basis.
And I never thought that. I'm thinking of, and I can't think of her name, and it's going to come back at me, but she was our local state house rep.
Okay, so Rachel Baker.
Rachel Baker does a great job with what you're saying.
Yeah.
She does a phenomenal job. She will do on her Instagram, hey, this is what we just worked at, and here are the impacts of it. And I don't know why. I love watching that, but I never thought, wow, that would work great.
Right. It's like it wouldn't take that much, just somebody steps out, it's like, and I'm trying not to create more work for anyone.
Yeah.
But I don't know, what it would take, because some of my frustrations are trying to find out when meetings are, trying to get online, it's just like, and that's another position we're talking about, where you have to develop your website better, which is another, it's not like Loveland has an endless amount of money.
Sure.
So when I say these things out loud, I understand
right.
why it's not there yet, but just these types of things I'd like to work on, just our community, our communication. And then it's like, and then it goes right back up, like if you had something you were concerned about, you could, do a video, or I know that they have email and receive email a lot, but I'm just like, not everyone likes to communicate in that way. It's like, and it's, got to find out where everyone is.
Yeah, I love that. A lot of people are communicating just through a direct message on Instagram or whatever. It seems like that's the fast way. And email does seem antiquated. And it's not like, I like your point, you're not really saying, hey, they're behind or they're doing anything wrong.
Right.
You're just saying, hey, we could just catch up.
Yep.
And we could put it forward.
Right. Yeah.
What else you got? What else you thinking?
So that's that communication amongst. So when you go to tree environment, you go to Parks and Rec, and there's some other committees. I feel like we're missing out laterally. Like we're all siloed.
Yes.
And it's like once you start going to different meetings, you're like, oh, they were just talking about that in the other meeting.
Yes.
But nobody knows what they were. And you're just like,
and you're disconnecting on some things that you could work together on,
right.
Or stepping on each other's feet. I mean, that's happened a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So, and just become more efficient is like, hey, they're doing this too. It's kind of like what you want to do. Can we do this, share resources, do this, same time, and just that's some of the stuff I'm looking at. And just how, I know that the committees are supposed to report to, send somebody up to report. And,
yes.
And I don't know if it's read aloud or if they physically show up.
Or if it's just a blurb on a piece of paper.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe they write that up. Yeah.
Right. So, that, and then, up and down, just that whole thing there. So we're not so much siloed. And then even out community outreach, there's a lot of other things going out in the community that are not necessarily in the Loveland City Hall government, but just out in there, everyone's trying to do similar things. I feel.
Yes.
Environmental impacts, churches, all that stuff that we could talk about.
Working together.
Yeah.
Yes. To figure out how to do that. I think that's a great. I think, I put it out there, and as you're saying all these things, my mind is rolling. Like, how could you put this together? And I tried to have the city, say, hey, I can give you my services. We could work on a podcast. But I was even thinking, if you just had a little bit, like my daughter for this podcast comes and gives a weekly update for the high school.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
awesome.
Something like that would be simple, where each chairman could just give a little, they could either send in their own vocal or just send in something that one person could read, just so the society, if you listen to it, if you're on Parks and Recs, you could listen to, Tree Environment's doing that, I got to call them.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's little things that you take these things for granted, but they're right there in front of us. It's not big changes you're talking about, but they're good changes.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I love
Right.
that.
Yeah. So, just something. Just to try and simplify it. It's like you don't need to go to the meeting for an hour and listen, but maybe we did a boil down at the end, of like the things that that we hit, and
you're not just talking about city council. You're talking about city council meeting, but you're talking about all the committees people don't know, and a lot of people out there don't know a lot about those. So I think that's a phenomenal idea.
It is. Yep. It is good. It would be good for a lot of the committees if they kind of just did a quick boil down. Like, here's what's going on.
Yep.
What else? I'm been walking out, talking to residents, going neighborhood, door to door, and the feedback I'm getting currently is it's the same. It's parking, and it's traffic, and it's like I'm out, and I'm asking everyone, and I'm like, oh, did you go downtown? Well, how was it? And their reply is, I don't go that way.
Oh yeah.
And it's like such a hard thing, like as a resident, to be like, oh, you don't travel to your own city,
right?
Because you know how congested it gets, and it's sad. I understand. I'd love to work on changing that.
Okay.
And that's not an easy one.
I was
Otherwise,
say,
it would have been done.
You've been following it. Yes,
been following
that they're taking steps. So you just want to get there and be a part of that and push it.
Yeah, I want to keep pushing. We need a second bridge. I know that's
been in talks.
Yep, that's been in talks, and that's a challenging one. You got to get the state, you got to get both counties, you got to find out where it is, you got to get Little Miami Conservancy. We got to do a river survey. And it's
a lot.
It is. And
and I heard in a podcast that's about to come out right now. Ryan Kulik brought up the idea is just having, even if we could just do a temporary, because it's a lot. And even if we put it now together, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing it wouldn't be for 5 or 6 or more years, just to all the infrastructure and everything. But what if you did, and I saw one over the Little Miami way up north, I think it was in Lebanon, I don't want to call it a footbridge, but almost like that, where you connect it out, and just thinking out loud, and Ryan brought up this idea, is you connect it to the bike trail over to a parking lot right across the river.
Yeah.
So that your car can stay over there.
Yeah. Right.
Some people do walk in town this way, but if you put there's no big lot over there.
No. Well, Kiwanis Park has a lot of parking. So
Kiwanis,
I would love to put it from Kiwanis to the back end of the new amphitheater.
Then there you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
It would be great to get that.
You can take your bike, you can take your stroller, you can walk across it, and that's something that could be feasible in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
If you just
And then there's some grant money for something like that to happen. Now
I love that idea.
Yeah, so it's a great idea.
Yes, I was looking on the other side, but no, that's it.
Yep. So I looked at. I've been looking at Kiwanis and that, and I talked to Jason from Loveland, Little Miami Conservancy.
Oh, good.
And he was not as receptive because of they are judged to keep his conservancy.
Yeah.
There's certain marks he has to hit.
Yes.
And one of those is river crossings.
Oh, believe me.
So,
but I worked with them and they're great people, and he's doing his job. He's conserving.
Yep.
So, and we love that. We love the fight that he puts up. But I mean, little things like when I was working with
the gentleman that was there before him, we were just trying to, and we still don't have it, still trying to find just a public kayak put in and out. And I mean, I worked forever trying to find a spot that, you know, wasn't going to erode or take out honeysuckle, and we don't have one. He worked his butt off to help out and this and that. But yeah, that is going to be a tough one to get over on them. But hopefully it's something that, you know, if we look at all the benefits, that they can come around.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. And then they. Did you read about Riverside? Those properties that did not go through, and then Dave's working on getting a grant done
to get the park. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
That'd be so
it's not going to help you on your kayak thing, because I think part of that is that the Little Miami is going to take the riverbank part of it. Little Miami Conservancy is still going to, the way it is right now.
Maybe we can get in.
And it still has to get approved, and they just voted on that for Dave to write the grant, but he doesn't.
I didn't even think of that, so we're gonna jump in there quick.
Yeah.
And see if
before, get that.
Give us just this little spot, man.
Yep.
Just
a spot.
Because this is what, you know, one of the reasons, you know, I love this town for a billion reasons, but I kayak as a teacher. I'm off on Mondays, and I haven't done it in a while. And it's honestly, I'm getting older, and it's hard. It's hard to carry my kayaks. I used to get off at Nisbet and carry my kayaks, and I'm an Eagles member, and they're gonna hate me saying this. I would pull into my parking lot where they want to shoot you if you load your kayaks there and then out. They have the sign up. I don't understand. Eagles members, you can come at me. That's fine. I don't understand why it's a big deal if somebody takes 5 minutes to unload their kayak in our lot. But I would do that and get yelled at. But it's not easy to do. And so I honestly have not kayaked as much because you can't come out of Mark's place. And that's not his fault. It's liability reasons. I completely understand that. So I'd have to go all the way down to Lake Isabella. But I want to come out in Loveland. Most of the times I'd have my buddies with me, and we want to go out and have a burger and a beer. Yeah. That's what it's for.
Right.
And it doesn't exist. So So let's put that on your agenda.
I love it. I would be about that. I almost called you in the springtime when we had all that rain. I wasn't going to do Little Miami. I was looking at the creeks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was like, dude, we need to kayak. We need to kayak right down.
We'll do it next spring then.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so sounds like you got a lot of great ideas. Anything you want to add? Like, what is your message right now to the voters, just to wrap this up?
Oh, my message right now to the voters is I'm, fiscally conservative, keeping an eye on keeping Loveland quaint. I'm not afraid of growth. I think we could grow, but I don't want us to get too big or too small. Like it's like keep this momentum that we have going.
Yeah, I
feel like the next 5 years is going to be important for these improvements that come along, and they got to be done well. Otherwise, you don't want everyone else to stop coming to Loveland because of the traffic or the parking issue.
Yeah, you don't want to hear those conversations.
No, I don't. I want to keep everyone like, oh yeah, we're going to come out to Loveland, and
one of the things about you too, you're a doer, like I said, and two, I just feel like you're a listener, and you're not one of these guys that's going to come in and just you're going to work well with others.
Correct.
And, I can really see that in you too.
Yeah.
So regardless of who wins and who's on our council, I don't think that matters with you.
No, yeah, exactly. It just, and that's what I like about our council, that way, and everyone who's running is really, I think if you go look at every candidate, we are all pro Loveland.
Yes.
We all love this
There's
town.
not a lot of animosity.
There's not.
In this race, there's really not.
There's not.
Yeah.
There's not.
I like to see
and that's what I like about everyone who's running is like, we all want the best for Loveland. And I'm just going to be better than everyone.
There you go. That's right. Exactly. That's awesome.
It is a race.
It is a race.
It is a race.
And you got to, you're a race, and you're working hard at this race right now. You're a busy guy.
Yep. I am trying. I'm out there right now, meeting all the residents, many residents as I can.
Yeah.
And love listening to the residents and finding out what we need, what they see as improvement, and then trying to figure that out, how to come to terms, to make that happen for all of us.
Ryan Kulik, resident here in Loveland. I guess you could call me the political gadabout or gadfly or whatever. I still like to give advice, and free advice is what I tell people it's worth, but I'm always willing to get there. And obviously interested in my community. I do have a background as a lobbyist and political consultant. Many of your listeners probably know that part about it. But I've moved more into kind of letting people tell their stories and audio production for podcasts and the local film industry, and just trying to basically help people connect to their audience in a professional manner.
Yeah, Ryan and I spoke for quite a while before the podcast, and just getting caught up on all the things. You have your hands in a lot, which is what I expected. And so I brought Ryan
My
here.
midlife crisis is just constantly building companies.
Just build and build. Yeah, till we figure out where we want to be, right? So my idea towards, as many as you know, Ryan had a long-time podcast that I was a fan of, called Eye on Loveland.
Kind of you.
Well, okay,
get it.
I was a fan because
Yeah.
I could not wait for them to come out. I think you guys did a phenomenal job in production. I did not agree with 95% of what you were saying, but it was it was really needed, and at the time, and I thought it was a great thing, and got respect for you. Didn't like you at first as we talked, but I love you now, and so
I get it. My wife really hated me a few years before we got married, so I get it. I get it.
and now I think you're great. And so when I with this new election coming up, there are a lot of things that I struggle with, and I think, well, maybe other people do too. So I invited you here, Ryan, and I invited Andy Bateman. So I do want to put that out there, and I hope to get Andy on, because I know that Ryan and I see eye to eye on a lot of things. So this will probably be a lot of agreement today. I was hoping to get some counterpoints from Andy, because I know I love and respect Andy, and I think he's a smart guy, and I think he'd have some good counterpoints. So maybe in a future episode, he can come back and give his views. But tonight, it's just Ryan and I. And some things that this isn't, and I'd like to give this caveat. I have a lot of friends running in this race. I have a lot of personal connections with people on council. So I would like to start out by saying, please, none of this is personal. Politics for me is not personal. If I'm pointing things out too, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm pointing a finger at the people that are running now. This is I think I put this list together from things that I've seen over the years, and these people that are running now are doing what has been status quo, and I may be totally wrong, but I wanted to talk these things through with somebody that I respect and I think has a good head, is big, much smarter than I am when it comes to this stuff, and talk these things through, because I don't know, maybe I might be skewed, I may be lost on these things, but I want to know his thoughts and other people's thoughts on things that I think in local elections may not need to be there, or maybe they do and I don't understand why. And the first one, Ryan, I'd like to talk about is the thing we're starting to see now, just this week, as you drive through Loveland, and if you see posts on social media, is the running as teams. You're going to see yards, and the yards are not going to have a mix of different groups. It is going to be one group versus another group of people. And, and people are going to, I guess you call it running as a slate. Would that be a proper term?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this that has become part of Loveland? And I don't know, does it happen in other communities? Because when I look at other communities, I don't know people that are running as teams. I just see yards signs in a yard and don't know how they relate. Is this something that is happening everywhere? Is it just a Loveland thing? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, we're sitting, not just Loveland election, but the Cincinnati City Council. And
Okay.
they're all Democrats.
Okay.
And the mayor's a Democrat. And that is not common. It's been in the past that there have been charterites or there's been Republicans on the council, but the Democrats have kind of controlled it. So you think about the idea of a slate. I have two answers, because that's what everybody loves about people in politics, is we're not going to give you one answer. I have a citizen answer. As a citizen of the city of Loveland, there are 7 city council seats. And each of those 7 people, and I'm going to say, I'm with you too. People might think I'm some kind of curmudgeonly against people on council and stuff like that. I think anybody that runs for office, I respect. I wouldn't do it myself.
Nope.
Okay, and I'm not the right person to be running for office. But as this concept of a slate, as a citizen, I want 7 ideas. And I told you this off mic that a 7-0 vote matters the same as a 4-3 vote. The difference is a 4-3 vote is going to elicit discussion. And discussion is somebody, like, nobody is 100%, especially if you're in government, okay? If you look at the people on our city council, we have a lot of lawyers on our city council. A lot of, especially local offices, are lawyers. They're not civil engineers, okay? They don't understand traffic the same way that a civil engineer may understand. I do know Kip Payne's an engineer. I'm not sure what kind, though. But still, you want a diversity of opinions that somebody might say, hey, I want to do this, and somebody else says, have you thought of this? And then you get this discussion. That's not happening. It's not happened in Loveland for a long time. And it is very important that Kathy Bailey has her 7-0 council. And you've seen in the past with people like, we were, again, talking off mic, just recently passed former Vice Mayor Angie Sattel. She was a lone voice on the council for her last few years. And then you had Tim Butler, who was a lone voice, and they both are gone. They both had left. Now, I do want to make mention that Tim Butler did win his last election. He was the highest vote getter against Mayor Bailey's slate. So people can, but as a citizen, I want that. I want those diversities of opinion. As a strategist, if somebody was to come to me and say, how do I get on Loveland City Council? I say, run with Kathy Bailey's slate. That's how you get on council. So if my job is to teach you or tell you how to win, that's how you win here. That is what's happened so far. There hasn't been, especially in my time working in Loveland politics, going back to 2017, very mildly in 2015, there hasn't been, outside of the Tim Butler thing, really anybody that's been able to break through. Andy Bateman first ran, didn't get a seat on council, and then ran with Kathy Bailey's group and got a seat on council. So I think it shows that it works. Now you look at the other side. This is the first time that I've known that there is actually a competing 4-person slate. When I think about the people who have run against this group in the past, they're usually running 1 or 2, but now you have 4 people running. And I would say, again, as a citizen, and they're all going to tell you, Mike, they're going to say, well, we have our own opinions anyways. Yeah, okay. And if a frog had wings, it wouldn't bump its butt on the way down. I understand what they're going to say, but the action has shown that it's just kind of loyalty to Mayor Bailey's agenda, that they want to be on there, and that's how they get on council.
Or the opposite, that they're, when you see the other sides in the art, are they saying that they're against that agenda? That's, I guess, the question there.
So here's the thing. I've been at this game for a while, and politics has evolved in a lot of different ways, but something is always the same. If you are running for office, you not only need to tell people why to vote for you, you need to give them a reason not to vote for your opponent. There are 4 seats up, okay? When people go in Loveland and they vote, they're going to vote for 4 different people. And if they see that, I want to vote for John Hart, Adam Jarenick, Kip Payne, and Lynn Zook, they're going to go down that list. Now, on the other side, you have Deidre Hazelbaker, who this is her second run, and I think that's good. Her name has been on the ballot before. But then you also have Doherty. Sorry if I don't...
Jim Daumeyer.
Daumeyer, thank you. That's thinking of somebody else. And then you have Sherry Hamlin, who, if people don't know, she's been very involved with the Loveland government. She's been on a lot of committees and stuff. And then you have Todd Osborne. Now...
Former member.
Yes, former member of council. I know he ran, I believe, in 2015 also. Todd is... I told you earlier I'd never run, because people who know me have made the decision about me. And I get that. So from a strategist standpoint, when you are a known commodity and people have that feeling, that can be a detriment. And I'm curious about what, I'm going to call it Hazelbaker's team, because she's the one that is most recently run, what their thought process is. I mean, do they think that Todd has enough juice that he can help pull some of them over? Because like you said, he has been on council before. He also, I mean, I think it's personally mildly amusing to me, but Loveland every year gives like a Citizen of the Year award, and Kathy Bailey's council has given Todd Osborne that award.
Well, there's a lot of connection there. He's been a big supporter too for years. Yeah.
And I have stepped back from having my hands into all this stuff, so I don't know all the dynamics, but I obviously am still interested, and it is still my community. I will say this when I go back to, you got to give people a reason to vote for you, but you also have to give people a reason not to vote for the other side. I'll go back to Tim Butler because he's the last person to actually do it. He identified, mainly surrounding the parking garage that we were discussing at the time in Loveland, what his opposition was and why he had his opposition, and the voters backed him. The voters believed. Now, they still voted for Kathy Bailey's other group of people, but he was able to articulate that in a way. We're still early in the political process here, but I don't know why I would vote for Hazel Baker's group. I don't know if they've identified. I've read their literature, I've looked at it, and they're from the community. I feel like a big part of theirs is they feel like, especially downtown near Nisbet Park, that a lot of the character is being taken away because there's a lot of housing developments or condo developments that are coming, not just to Loveland, but they're coming everywhere. And I'll get to that because I think that's a good spot for Hazel Baker's group, is they need to identify why their leadership would be different than Mayor Bailey. We are a Republican community. It's I think we're one, if not the only city/township on the east side that voted for Donald Trump in the last election. So you got to think politically. This is a Republican community.
It's getting closer, though.
It is.
It's getting closer.
And the surrounding ones around us, Sims and stuff, they're getting more and more purplish. But in Loveland, you got to think that. And they have the Kathy Bailey's group, and I know I keep saying Kathy Bailey's group. She's not running.
Right.
But Mayor Bailey, I do want to say, they do have the
She's
Republican.
endorsed.
Yeah,
She's
the
endorsed.
Republican endorsement. Now, usually, it's been nothing but Republicans running. This is a little bit different. Hazel Baker, I think Hamlin, I know are involved in local Democratic politics. And I don't know if they're going to tout any endorsements. I don't know if they're going to do anything like that. I don't think they should, personally.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Yeah, but I think there's areas where they could maybe capitalize on a few things if they talked about like a stagnation in the community, or if they talk about ways they could do it. And I'll tell you, this would be my biggest piece of advice. If I was sitting down with them, I'd say the master plan. In 2020, the city of Loveland passed a new master plan. So we're at minimum 5 years into this. We spent $130,000 on this. We had multiple community meetings. We had all these ideas. We started with a downtown plan, which led to a full community plan, and we also had a parks plan. So we're looking at years. If I am the opposition group, that's what I say. They created a plan that they're not following. Now, they may tell you they are. But at the very base, I can see with myself, my own eyes, when I go to Loveland, all the changes they made to downtown, none of it's in the master plan. The parking garage they wanted to build, not in the master plan. So really long-winded way of saying that if Hazel Baker's group of people want to take over, and Todd Osborne's a fighter. He's a political warrior. And maybe he can find a way to articulate this in a way that is not going to turn off people, that they could really create that point of change, that this is what we need to do.
Now, here's just to push back a little bit. People know or may not be familiar with my relationship with Mr. Butler, who I do respect as a person.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy, very nice guy. But I was very vocal about grandstanding, right? So, and I want your point of view on this, because I see a very fine line between, and we've had this conversation too, is you get a packet the week before from Mr. Kennedy, Dr. Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy, and you kind of know what's coming up, and you have your opportunity to email questions and this and that. I don't want somebody on council just to be an opposing voice, just to be an opposing voice. So I understand your point that, hey, I want somebody up there asking questions and creating conversation. How do we have that's real and true, though? I do not believe, and I'll stand by this, that Mr. Butler was real and true up there. I think he was doing it for the purpose of gaining voters to say, hey, look at me, I'm standing out, I'm pushing back, I'm creating a headache for these people that didn't need to happen. And this is a real question I have, is it, do we need that conversation every time? If something simple is just put up and Mr. Kennedy has a good idea, can it be 7-0? I'm just posing the question. I don't know.
So here, that's a great question, because It's what the voters sees. It's what people see. And in the case of former Vice Mayor Angie Sattel or even Tim Butler, they were the lone voice. There wasn't anybody backing them up. So in that case, you had to create the noise because your supporters, your people that'd be there. Famously, Tim Butler would have supporters that would come speak on this stuff. And part of it is a show.
Okay.
And again, as a citizen, that really bothers me.
Right.
But having been in this business since the Bill Clinton era, I understand what it is.
Right.
Okay, I do get it. And you might not want it to be that way, but I often tell this to people: you don't walk onto a football field with a baseball bat and expect them to change what they're playing.
Sure.
You play by the rules of the game. So there's that. But here's where I talk about most of your votes are going to be 7-0. We need to repair a sewer. We need to put a stoplight here.
Right.
We got to do this. There's no reason, and I know somebody's going to tell me there is a reason, but in all honesty, there's no reason to debate that stuff.
Sure.
The parking garage was an interesting idea.
That's different.
Because
Yes.
it wasn't in the master plan, and there wasn't a lot of forthcoming. There's just a lot of negative noise around it that Mayor Bailey and the people that supported it were basically trying to shut it out. But here's where I think I have an issue with the kind of slate idea. And this is where Hazel Baker's people can highlight the fact that Todd Osborne is of a different political party, or they have some different viewpoints. They have a need, they have a want for Loveland that they can do. Like I tell people all the time, we again talked about this earlier, is if they just went to every door and said, I am going to build you a community center, they would get a lot of votes. They would get a lot of people. And you're going to hear this. It's another famous story I like to tell people. The 2016 primary, because if you work in politics, everything's about recent history. They asked a question. It was Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. And they asked a question about student loan forgiveness. And Hillary Clinton went on this 3-minute long technical response and stuff like that. And then they asked Bernie Sanders, he said, forgive them all. And everybody immediately was like, well, that doesn't make sense. That's not logic. It didn't matter. That's what people wanted to hear. So I say the same thing. It was like, well, how are they going to build the community center? Where are they going to do it? You tell the community I'm invested in this.
Right.
And I go back to the master plan, which running for re-election, Councilman Hart was the head of that committee when it went on. And they put into that plan that they were going to create a community group to look at the viability of a community center. They have never done that. You can point to that. You can point to that as promises made, promises not kept. And that is very important. I want to say something before I go on, Mike. I've met John Hart, and I like John. I like him a lot. Councilman Ted Phelps, who's leaving here, has always been very kind to me. These people, I get along with. I like them. I like them as people.
Yeah.
But I'm not voting for a friend. I'm voting for somebody that's protecting my tax dollars, that's making my community better. And when you talk about how can they create discussion, have your vision. I want John Hart to tell me what he is going to do for Loveland. I wanted to ask Councilman Bateman, when you leave council, what is your project? What is the thing you did? Where is your name going to be on the plaque?
I like that. Like that. Yeah. What if they name a park after you?
Yes.
Why?
Right.
I love that. That's a great.
And it's important because Neil Orey, Councilman Orey, who's leaving council now, who I've had verbal run-ins here and there with, but I know what Neil Orey wanted to do. Neil Orey was a huge proponent of the businesses in Loveland. When I said we give the Citizen Award that Todd Osborne won, we always give a business award, and Councilman Orey always had somebody he was promoting. He was very proud of his community. He was very proud of what we were doing here, and that's what I think the legacy of Councilman Neil Orey is, and I think that's honorable.
Yeah.
But Councilman Vice Mayor Ted Phelps, he's leaving after 3 terms. And one of the things I know, he was on the OKI, the regional group that helps transportation and stuff. In 12 years, transportation's not gotten better in Loveland. So I don't want them to be yes men or yes women. I want to know what Lynn Zook wants to do for Loveland. If Lynn Zook had a magic wand, if Adam Jaranek, I hope I'm saying that right.
You're
Please
right.
correct
Yeah,
me. Right. What's he going to do for Loveland? You have your ticket. It's going to be easier for you to get on council, so it should be easier for you to articulate that. And you may come up, you may say, I want to build that community center, and City Manager Kennedy is like, well, we can't do it because of da-da-da-da-da-da. Say, figure it out. You're the city manager. I am a council member. This is what our people want. we figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's where I think you start getting those more in-depth discussions.
You know, it's funny as you say that, and not. I guess I'm going to toot my own horn here a little bit. But when I joined Tree and Environment Committee, I didn't know anything about it, but I got on it, and they already had their agenda. But to Mayor Bailey's credit, she said, "Hey, you should join this committee. This is what," because I'd given a talk in front of council. Your heart's here, and I did. And I did have an agenda. You're right. But I came into it and I shook it up because I'm like, I want to be a tree city again. Mm-hmm. I want to do this and this. And to be honest, when I joined that committee, there were people that, didn't believe in climate change.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I didn't come in as just saying, hey, I want to fulfill a role and sit in a seat, which had been happening for a while in that committee because nothing was getting done for a number of years. And again, I don't mean to be personal, not against anybody. People were sitting on a committee and doing what they thought was right, right? They were giving up their time. So I don't mean to be dismissive of that, but it wasn't taking us forward. And so when I came in with these ideas, we took us forward. And again, I respect, I think your opinion really just opened up another spot in my mind in that, you're not just a seat. Mm-hmm. You are a smart individual here with each of your goals. I would like to look at you as a person, and I can call Adam out right now. I know Adam has a goal. I know it's one goal, one of them, and he's got many, is golf carts. Mm-hmm. Great. Mm-hmm. I can look at you and say, this is something that other people are saying can't happen, and you are going to work on this for a little while, right? And I think that's a good way to kind of look at it, is just say, hey, I don't want you as just a nameless person that's going to go up there and do what's right. I want to look at you and say, what is your thing that you're going to be specific about, right? Is that kind of what your point was?
That's exactly. It's where I think we've lost a little bit of this. And by no means am I saying Loveland. You can look all the way up to our federal government.
Sure.
It's that we have 500 plus members of Congress, but we only have 2 ideas.
right.
And it's frustrating.
Bring it with you. Exactly. Bring your personality. Bring your ideas.
And look, there's big problems going on, okay? And there's not, when I think of Loveland, so I moved here in 2013, and we had a young son. We were looking at communities that we could afford. My wife, very important, wanted to live in a house, sidewalks, all this other stuff, and we wanted a good school. And I went around at the time, and I talked with a lot of different superintendents. Chad Hilliker, who was the superintendent of Loveland at the time, blew my socks off. I'm like, this is great. And we were looking at like Madeira and Montgomery and things like that, but we had 2 things. We had, this is going to make me sound like a snob, but I'm going to say one of them is my wife wanted a master suite. Wanted the bathroom connected to the bedroom, and we wanted a good school. And at the time, Loveland was I think like 7th highest rated school in the district or in the region, and it was like, no, this is going to work. This is going to do well. And I've always really appreciated Loveland schools, but they've had some issues with levies and things like that, and the board turnover. And I know there's an election going on right now, but I know enough about this stuff that I look at those 12 years, I look at that decade, and I don't know if Loveland has built a new home in the school district, the city of Loveland. I know Sims Township has Miami Township. They're also part of the district. Kind of a little weird, dirty secret is Loveland has less than 50% of the city of Loveland, less than 50% of the population of the school comes from us. Wow. And we have a higher tax burden on the schools than Sims or Miami does.
Wow.
So that's a different issue. But I go back to the issue of building houses. They haven't built a house like mine since we moved here. And that matters because that means those young families that are looking for their first house, that have young kids that are going to go to the schools K through 12, they're not moving here. What we've been building instead, and I do want to clarify something. I know some people talk about our Homerama development that was over in the Warren County part. All the homes in that part of Loveland are part of Little Miami schools. They're not part of Loveland schools. So that's why I'm saying that. But everything else we're building are these $500,000 to $800,000 condo row houses. Those are for empty nesters. Those are for baby boomers whose kids are out of school. They're not coming here. And I know, look, I'm not even going to go down this rabbit hole, Mike, with you about the whole Grailville thing.
Yeah.
And that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
But the concept of putting in these affordable family homes is something Loveland's
Well, they
been
weren't going to
lacking.
be affordable. That
Well,
was
yeah,
the problem.
yeah,
right.
I say there's so many problems. But this idea of building homes for families, what's happening is that's making our community older, which means they're less invested in our schools. And our schools now, as of the latest U.S. News and World Report, we're the 11th best school in the region. We've been passed, I think, by like Mason, Milford in that time period. Now, having said that, I do want to give Superintendent Mike Broadwater a lot of credit.
Yeah.
He's had to navigate a tripwire over razor blades.
Yep.
In order to get
and
this
shout out John Espy too. Yep. The
Yeah.
treasurer done phenomenal.
Yes. And I think the current school board has done a very good job
Yes.
of getting, I would say they're getting the blood out of a turnip, but they're doing great work. And the school district at one time was like 16th in the region. So it's coming back to where it should be. But if I look at those long-term things, you're not building those homes.
Where though? I guess my question is where.
Well,
how?
being a city,
Yes.
we can expand.
It would have to be annexed, correct?
It would have to be, but also if you look at West Loveland, they're building those $800,000 row houses there. There's all that land back there. That could be. I know the person who owned that land tried to make a housing development back there.
You talking about along the river?
No. Up near the heights on the hill.
Okay.
Behind the Dairy Whip.
Yes.
So
Yes.
It's there's areas that you can look at, but I think about too that over Blossom Hill, I think it's what it's called, over in that area, we could have built homes there, but we're building these. And Mike, I want to make this clear, okay? This is happening everywhere.
Sure.
This is a major
Yes.
problem everywhere.
Yes.
It is this is the lack of affordable housing for families.
Yeah,
is
and
a
don't get this
ne-
skewed, people,
yeah.
because I know last time people were getting this skewed and saying Section 8 housing, that when we're saying affordable housing,
No.
we're not talking, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with Section 8.
No.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about, personally...
We're talking for double income people
Yeah.
with children.
Personally, I moved into this condo, which I love, 10, almost 11 years ago, thinking I'm going to be here for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I can't find
No.
a place for me. I'd love like a place in your neighborhood in the price range that I thought it would be.
Yeah.
They don't exist.
I had a house just down the street from me, went on the market, and 24 hours later it was pending.
It's a nut. It was just great because we're a destination
No,
place
that's
to be.
what I mean.
But
yeah, right, and that is, but it shows the need and the want.
Yes.
And if City Manager Kennedy or the council is gonna say, well, this is a problem everywhere, fine. I elected you to fix it in Loveland. So you need to come up with plans. You need to talk about it. Like you just said, where are we going to build this? There's 2 big areas now that are going to require a lot of environmental mediation and stuff. But there's off Loveland Madeira Road. There's the old, trash dump,
Chestnut.
and then there's a Chestnut area. So there's areas where plans can be made, but there has to be this boldness, and there has to be this boldness knowing that, look, if our community is getting older, and we are still investing in adult type, and I don't mean adult in that sense,
Right.
but higher end expensive restaurants. And look, my son's 15 and will eat a lot of different things, but he's not going to want to go to Teak. My wife and I will go, but he's not going to go there. There's really nowhere downtown except maybe Paxton's.
The works.
Yeah. Oh, the works. Yeah. Okay, you're right. Yeah. But we just named 2 essentially, and then thinking a diversity of options in the city there. Like I know the chain Shake Shack is expanding. And I'm like, I'd love to put something like that in Loveland.
Right.
And there's that, but there's also, I told you, they knock on people's door and say we're going to build a community center. It's like, yes, that's what we want. A pool, something like that.
Right.
That it's, you got to be bold.
You got to make, and I told you beforehand, my cousin Jack Brendamore, he's building one, and he came to Loveland and met with people and said, I want to put it here. I want to put it here. And it just was not possible. And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You make it possible, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Right? Is we will figure this out if we have, for the people of Loveland somehow.
And you got to know, everybody has to know, and it's a constant problem here. And I know I feel like I'm minimizing what's happening in Loveland because it's happening everywhere. But the people that are going to solve these problems are the ones that are going to be bold. the state of Ohio is doing the cities and townships no favor. They keep pulling them dry.
Yes.
They keep doing this. So you have to think to yourself, what can I do in my community in order to protect the taxpayer? The most important thing. We've had, in my time here in Loveland, we've had 2 big change elections. One was based off of a tax increase that tried to be put on the people, and that changed the government, the power structure in the government. And the other one was about development. Development that people didn't like, which again changed the government. That's where we are now. Economic pain is being felt. People are feeling it in a lot of ways. They're seeing that.
And it's going to probably get worse here.
Yeah. But we have here in Cincinnati, we have a very, very good tech startup community. My company itself is a startup right now, and we're going through funding with VCs and all these things, and we're looking for locations to build things. Everybody's looking for locations to build things. They're all working out of the same co-working space. That is, when you have 20 startups in the same co-working space, it gets a little tight. But you're talking about businesses that have millions of dollars in investment, have smaller staffs, but they are paid really well, and these are professional jobs. I don't know why the Loveland City Council or the city manager is not going down to these VCs in the city of Cincinnati and trying to move their companies here. This is what needs to be done. This is what I mean by bold thinking. There has to be, I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head, but it was the electric truck company.
Workhorse.
Thank you. I keep wanting to say Rivian, but that's not it. And without getting too far in the weeds, they were days away from going insolvent and then coming back and all this other stuff. But it's a company that's still working. There are some very successful, soon-to-be successful startups that are coming out of the city of Cincinnati. Probably one of the most famous ones is a company, Astronomer, which if you're a Coldplay fan, a fan of corporate affairs, then you're going to know it. But Astronomer came from here. It came out of here and left. We need that next company to stay, and Loveland is a perfect location for it.
Hi everyone, it's Anna back with your Loveland High School Weekly Update. It's officially Homecoming Week and I hope everyone's super excited. Don't forget to participate in Spirit Week for this week. Monday's USA Day, Tuesday Character Day, Wednesday Decades Day, Thursday Country vs. Country Club, and Friday Wear Class Colors. Don't forget that Thursday is Homecoming Parade and tickets for the dance are on sale starting today until Saturday for $30 each. Athletics for this week. Tuesday, girls volleyball versus West Claremont at home and girls soccer at Turpin. Wednesday, girls tennis at Mason and girls volleyball versus Walnut Hills. And then Friday for the football homecoming game versus Walnut Hills at home will be so awesome. I hope everyone has a super safe and fun homecoming week.
Looking ahead in Loveland. Want to know where the candidates stand on the issues that matter to you most? The Little Miami Chamber Alliance is holding its City Council Candidate Forum for a chance to hear directly from those running to shape our city's future. It'll be held October 1st at Loveland City Hall at 6:30, and audience members are encouraged to submit questions in advance to the Little Miami Chamber Alliance website. And if you have any events that you would like me to mention here on the podcast, please reach out to lovelandweekly@gmail.com. We have something truly special here in Loveland. Thank you for listening, and have a great week. This episode was produced and engineered by Mike Meldon right here in Loveland. And please note that the opinions expressed in the podcast do not necessarily represent the views of our sponsors or organization.